I work with clients at every phase of life. What I've come to realize that problems don't really arise for the most part, in between, you know, 55 and 56 years old. The big negative events typically play out around transitions. Retirement transition, widow transition, estate transition, elder care planning. It's when a lot of big decisions need to be made in a short period of time, and sometimes it's highly impacted by emotions, lack of knowledge on a particular subject. One of the transitions that we focus on a lot at HJP is the widow transition. This is a tough reality. You might have been involved in making decisions as a partnership for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, and all of a sudden you wake up one day and you have to do everything by yourself. I wanted to spend a few minutes and just go over 5 or 6 things that you definitely want to check, pre or post the reality of now becoming a widow. Obviously, a basic one, please at least once a year, every other year, check your beneficiaries, make sure they're exactly how you would want them to play out. It's kind of horrendous when, oops, we forgot to put a beneficiary and it's left to the state and the state has to pay crazy high taxes. So please always make sure your beneficiaries are correct. Two, if you're the one that does all the banking and the credit cards, make sure your spouse knows exactly where everything is, usernames, what are the passwords, who's an authorized user. I can't tell you how many times it's either a bank account or a credit card that the other spouse can't get into, just kind of see where things are. Another big thing that always comes up is create a list of all the things that are on auto pay versus self pay. A lot of times stuff gets slipped through the crack, especially in that, first 6 months when everything's kind of emotionally hitting you very hard. This is something that, your advisor should make sure is happening. But if you have brokerage accounts or taxable accounts, let's say you have a position that you bought at $10 a share and now it's worth $50 a share, and your spouse inherits it, and the account now switches over to them, there's supposed to be a step up of the basis. So now when they have the account, their cost basis is at the $50 a share, not what you bought it at the $10 a share. A lot of times it moves over without the step up taking place. So again, that's for taxable accounts, and that's called the step up of basis at death. This is also what I'm about to discuss next is a tough one. Let's say as a couple, one of the two individuals tends to make all the financial decisions, and they want to do what's in the other spouse's best interest. And more than a few times, I'll sit down with someone who's a widow who their late partner said, just pick these investments or keep on to that. This is a great investment. Things are great in a period of time. That doesn't mean it's always going to be this way. And I'll give you a perfect example. A couple was in a pretty good situation financially, and the husband just said, just leave everything in money markets, you're going to be fine for the rest of your life. Well, at the time they gave that advice, money markets were yielding around 5%. And then for the next 15 years, money markets are earning zero or pretty close to it. So what made sense at that window did not make sense for the majority of their spouse's retirement. So be careful if you're saying, this stock is great, hold on to it forever, or this type of investment. You should count on the surviving spouse to make good, solid decisions or have a good team around them to help them make that. But try and stay away from saying this particular thing is good because it could change over time. And probably the most important thing, especially if you work with a financial planner, is go to the meetings. Even if your spouse normally handles the finances for the family, go to them. Especially if you're in your late 70s or 80s or 90s, go to all of the meetings. A lot of times these are really tough conversations, and it's kind of the worst when it's right after someone passes away. That's not be the first time you've seen that financial planner in 4 or 5 years. So participate in all of the meetings that you can go to. If anyone has any questions or like our widow checklist just to make sure they're fully prepared, always feel free to reach out.